So Luton play the hardest game of the season so far this Saturday at home against Cardiff. Both teams were playing in the Championship last season, and if you look at what's happened so far this year, Cardiff have definitely started the better out of the two. In this match preview, I'm going to talk about the previous game for Luton, that was against Wigan. We're going to hear from Rob, who is a Cardiff City fan, with his thoughts going into this game, and then at the end I will give you my thoughts and what my predicted starting 11 and score prediction will be. Before I do though, can we please smash the like button? Let me know your thoughts and feelings down in the video comments. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 6,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I make Luton and EFL content. So let's talk about the previous game for Luton, which was against Wigan. Second half performance was definitely a lot better than the first. If Wigan were better at taking their chances, we could have gone in at half-time 3-1, 4-1 down. Wigan definitely had a few clear-cut opportunities. They hit the post, they hit the bar. Keeley made so many great saves in that first half, and I do honestly believe we've got the best goalkeeper in the league. He's still very young, he can play out from the back, he commands his area in terms of his communication, he's a fantastic shot stopper. I look forward to seeing what else he can do in hopefully many years to come in a Luton shirt, because honestly I don't think he's going to last long being at our football club. I think he's going to get snapped up and he's going to play at the highest level. He's got all the ability, in my opinion, to go and do that. Despite not being the best in the first half against Wigan, we went in at half time 1-0 up and then we came back out, and yeah, the performance was a lot better than the first. We were moving the ball a lot quicker. Ali moved out wide and he was having a lot more fun in terms of beating his player out on the wing. We improved massively in the second half when Nordos came onto the pitch and he was linking the play up. He was getting the players around him more involved. He had a couple of attempts himself. He hit the post, and I was gutted that he wasn't able to get his first goal in a Luton shirt. But look, second half performance was better. That's what we want to see for more than 45 minutes. We want to see that type of performance for 90 minutes and of course a bit better, creating more opportunities, testing keepers, and yeah, playing more entertaining brand of football. I do believe we will get there eventually. We just need certain players to get up to match speed, like Bramall and Yates for example, and also the players that are currently injured to return back as well. But it's starting to get there, and despite not playing at our very best, we've still picked up 3 wins out of 4. Before I give you my thoughts going into this game against Cardiff, let's listen to Rob, who is a Cardiff City fan from the Cardiff City World YouTube channel, with his thoughts going into this game.
Yes guys, Rob Boy here from East Podcast Nation on Cardiff City World. Just wanted to give you a quick little rundown on Cardiff's start to the season and give you a bit of prediction from Cardiff perspective for Saturday. First time back in League One for Cardiff for some 20 plus years. Good start. Lots of changes over the summer, including obviously a new manager, different work ethic, tactics involved with him, and you can clearly see that this is coming to fruition already. Good unbeaten start to the season. Obviously the only blemish was the draw away to Port Vale, which was a bit of a eye-opener, I think. But yeah, it's been a good start. Wimbledon game the other day. Again, another tough task against a very physical Football League team. And I think that's what Cardiff has had to learn very quickly, is that it is a different level to where we are at the moment. We're not going away to teams like QPR and Watford and those alike. Going to places like Port Vale and Wimbledon, things like that. They are proper, what I'd say is old school Football League teams. So adapt quickly and learn, and obviously a massive win away to Wimbledon this week. So definitely positivity in the camp as it stands at the moment. So moving forward, obviously, to Saturday, I don't see many changes, to be honest. There will be a forced change on the wing, which I'll talk about just briefly in a sec, but I think the back 5 will remain the same with Trott. I think he's done very well since coming in on loan so far. Bagan, Wilfish and Lawler centre half, with then Capaccio at right back. NG is alleged to be close to being fit to returning, but I don't see him starting. Maybe a place on the bench, but I don't see Perry and G returning just yet to the starting lineup. In midfield, we seem to yo-yo between Wintle and Turnbull, or Wintle and Joel Caldwell. I think, given playing Luton on the weekend, I think we'll probably go for the more experienced Turnbull with Wintle. But do expect to see Joel Caldwell later on in the game, so he will be one to look out for you guys. On the wings, I think Cian Ashford, again, he starts, part of the Welsh core that we've got there at the moment, which is very positive to see on one wing. And then on the other, we would normally say Ollie Tanner, but unfortunately he's injured, out for 3 or 4 months. As horrible as it may sound, hopefully it's not Willock playing, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is. Ideally, I wouldn't mind seeing Isaac Davis play out there, but I wouldn't be surprised if Willock starts. Leading the line, I think I think Vice Captain Ruben Caldwell will start, and then he'd be playing behind Yusuf Salic, which seems to be the norm at the moment, with players obviously coming off the bench. But I think that there's definitely a couple that could interchange with that. You could see potentially Joel Caldwell start instead of Turnbull. You could see Callum Chambers start instead of Lawler. You could even potentially see Callum Robinson start instead of Yusuf Salic. So, but that's what I believe it will be. In terms of prediction wise, it's easy to say take a point, but I do think we take a point away at Luton. It's not going to be an easy game. We're not oblivious to that, despite the start we've had. We know what Luton Town are about, so I would take a point. However, I'm going to go with 2-1 Cardiff, Ruben and Will Fish to score. Just want to give massive thanks to Lewis. Thank you so much for inviting me to do this for yourselves, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Big thank you to Rob for giving us his time and letting us know his thoughts going into this game. Now it's time for me to give you my thoughts going into this game. So Cardiff, definitely the hardest team we've had to play so far this season. I'm happy that we're playing them at home rather at their ground. I think with them, from what I've seen, not completely two different ways of playing compared to at home and away from home, but I've definitely seen two different sides of Cardiff. I've watched 2 full games of them and of course extended highlights from their other games. I watched the game at home against Peterborough, and then I also watched the away game against Port Vale. Now the home game against Peterborough, they won 2-1. It could have been a lot higher than that. It could have been at least 4 or 5. The amount of clear-cut opportunities they did create in both halves was fantastic. The style of football is great. It's entertaining. It's possession based. They do build up from the back, and they aim to move the ball as quick as possible into the attacking half. It's exciting. It's what's helped them so far to have a positive start to this League One season. But despite having this possession based style of football, there were some players that had some poor passing, and basically Peterborough took full advantage of that, and that's how Peterborough were getting their opportunities. It was just taking advantage of Cardiff making a mistake at the back, and that's exactly what I think we should do. I think our out of possession shape and the way we are defending as a team might be a bit of a challenge for Cardiff to break down. From what I've seen so far this year, apart from the game against Bradford and also the first 45 minutes against Wigan, defending wise, we've been quite good. And with Chris Makosso returning back for this game against Cardiff, he's fresh, he's had 3 games off. We are much stronger at the back. So it's going to be even tougher for Cardiff to break us down, I would say. I think that the question mark for Luton going into this game is, can we create chances? Can we break Cardiff down? But the one, I think, advantage of playing against a team like Cardiff, they are going to be challenging. They're going to be trying to compete for those playoff positions at the very least. Not many people are saying they're going to be challenging for the top 2. I don't think their squad is as good to compete for the top 2. I don't think they've got a better squad than the likes of Stockport and Huddersfield. So I do think they are going to be competing more for a playoff position rather than a top 2 spot. But despite me saying that, they're going to come to Luton and take the 3 points. They are not going to accept a draw. Of course, depending on how the game would go, will determine whether or not it would be a good draw. But I do think their mission will be to come to Luton to get the 3 points. They're not going to sit back, is basically what I'm trying to say. Compared to the last home games which we've had against Wimbledon and Wigan, both of those teams put 11 players behind the ball. I don't see Cardiff doing this. I see them actually trying to attack us, trying to break us down and trying to score goals. But yeah, back to what I was saying about what I've seen so far from Cardiff. The game against Peterborough at home was fantastic, but what I did see against Port Vale was not a great performance. They didn't win many battles across the pitch. In fact, they lost a lot of battles across the pitch. They just couldn't get hold of the ball. Second, third, fourth balls, they weren't winning enough across the pitch. They lost that midfield battle. For me, when I look at the Cardiff City midfield, and I can be completely wrong about this because I don't watch them every single week, I don't watch every single minute, I don't see a midfield that's physically up for the challenge in terms of going up against a team that is actually physically, they're going to dominate you. So they've got more technical players, more players that don't really want to get involved in, big challenges. Whereas I think our squad is more than capable of doing that. When you've got Saville and Walsh, both players that do like to dive into challenges, I don't think the Cardiff City midfield like that. So I think personally, if we are going to win this game, we need to win the midfield battle. If we win the midfield battle, I believe we can go on to get the 3 points. But if we don't, and we allow Cardiff to dictate play and control it and allow them to have so much freedom on the ball, and we don't create any opportunities ourselves, then I think Cardiff will go on to win this game. But yeah, back to the game against Port Vale. They were completely off it. I don't know if that's been a one-off. Now, I know away from home against AFC Wimbledon, they managed to score very late on. When you play against a Wimbledon side, as we know from the first game of the season, they are a very tough side to break down. So those were 3 very impressive points. Yes, Wimbledon might be down there at the end of the season in terms of the league table, but Wimbledon, with majority of teams at this level, they are going to be so annoying to play against because of how they set up defensively. So let me tell you what my starting 11 will be for the game against Cardiff. So I've gone with Josh Keeley in goal, Chris Makosso as the right-sided centre-half, Naismith as the left-sided centre-half, and I've gone with McGuinness because from what Matt Bloomfield was saying, Mans Anderson doesn't, he isn't ready, I don't think. He's still got that knock. So it's better to just rest him rather than risk him, in my opinion. So I've gone with McGuinness against his former side. He's going to want to perform well against them. So that's my back 3 with Naismith, McGuinness and Makosso. Right wing back will be Kadoa and Bramall as the left wing back. Now, as you've noticed, there is no Nigel Longvik. I personally think it'd be better for him to come on in the second half when Bramall or Kadoa can't do the minutes which they need to do. As we know, we're still building both of these 2 players up at wing back. So I think Nigel coming on in the second half would be a lot better than starting. So that was my thought process behind that, with Saville and Walsh in the midfield. And then Ali being behind Yates with Clark. And yeah, Yates, of course, being up top. Although I'm not too happy with Ali being in this particular role, what I want Ali to do is to drift out wide, because that's where he's at his very best. I also felt, and Matt Bloomfield also agrees with this, these 2 players in Ali and Yates were too far apart. They needed to be a lot closer together. So that's what I want from Ali. I want him to drift out wide when he has possession of the ball and create opportunities, but then when he doesn't have the ball, be a lot closer to Yates, because the gap and the space between those 2 players against Wigan was far too big. And Clark, if he's not involved in the game, drop deeper, come and receive the ball and progress up the pitch that way. So what is my score prediction for this game? I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I feel like Cardiff, they're going to take the lead first, and that will give Luton the kick up the bum which we will need to get ourselves involved in the game. I'm hopeful that we are going to improve attacking wise and we do create opportunities. I do think we'll have it a lot easier compared to previous home games due to the fact that Cardiff will come and play football. They will try and win the game and they won't put 11 players behind the ball. And that will give us some space for us to try and exploit and for us to use our quality. But I do think it's going to be a draw. Until I see us improve going forward, I'm going to be very cautious on whether or not I think Luton, we can score loads of goals, especially at home. At home is where I've got a few question marks, because a lot of teams are just going to put 11 players behind the ball and say, come on Luton, break us down, because we know you find it a bit challenging. So that's how I'm viewing it. Until I see some special things happening on the pitch, I'm going to keep looking at Luton a certain way. Fingers crossed it does improve in the next couple of games. But look, it's 3 wins out of 4. Can we make it 4 wins out of 5? So big test against a side that, like I've already mentioned, have dropped down to the League One, just like us, from the Championship. I can imagine both teams are going to be up there at the end of the year as well. So big test, time for players to step up and score some goals. So that is the end of today's match preview. Let me know what you think down in the video comments. Let me know your score predictions and your starting 11s for this game. Smash that like button for me as well. It does help the video perform better on YouTube. Please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 6,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I make Luton and EFL content, and I'll see you guys after the game against Cardiff with my match reaction.